we got a quite important part of the campervan puzzle turn up today. The front seats. I'll unwrap them now. Hopefully they're in good condition. They look good on the photos anyway. They're second hand. I got them off eBay. There they are. Aren't they beauties? So I wanted black leather because if you go for some seats out of some other vehicle that have got cloth on it, then I'm not going to be able to match that cloth to the bench cushion that I've put in the back. So if I went for black leather seats or any other colour leather seats, then I can reasonably match that, especially with black. I had to have armrests and I had to have swivels. The only seats that come as standard with swivels, as far as I'm aware, is out of the likes of Ford Galaxies and Volkswagen Charans. Didn't really want them because they wanted like 600 quid for leather ones, and then they weren't in the best nick because they're old seats now, and there seems to be only a niche few people selling them on eBay, and they've like bought a lot of them and they're just holding them and selling them for what they want. So I didn't want them, and then the other ones were like motorhome seats, and they were mega money and just really disgusting cloth patterns on them, so they were out. So I thought, right, gonna have to choose something with armrests and then get the universal swivels. So I've got a pair of the universal swivels there. They're just the ones you see everywhere. I'll put the link for them in the description where I got them from, because for some reason the amount of people that are selling the same ones as them, but the price ranges are up and down everywhere. Like I think I paid in the 70 something each for them, and some people are selling them for 120 each, maybe even more. So yeah, I'll check the link for them in the description. So if you're interested in them, they're the cheapest I found, and they're the same as all the other ones really. So yeah, managed to find these, and they ticked all the criteria. Really good condition as well, and I think I paid 375 quid for the pair delivered. They are out of a Land Rover Discovery 5 HSE. Only problem is they're fully electric. Now, I haven't seen anyone else put these in a van, but they're advertising them a fair bit. They put in like campervan conversion in the title. So I'm hoping I can sort out the electrics of some sort to make them move. First thing we got to do is, well, obviously you can see the seats have been out of this van for ages. And we've got to take the seat off of the base, and to do that we need a T40 star drive adapter, and I think there's two at the front on each side, and then same on the back. 8 of them bad boys. The only thing that we might need off that is the seat belt receiver. So don't chuck that in the bin just yet. And I'm going to be converting it to 2 single seats in the front. If you haven't seen on the internet already, to be able to convert it from a bench to a single seat, you need to get another driver's seat base. As you may remember, I had another van, a scrap one, so I have got the driver's side seat base out of that. Taken the swivel bases out of their wrappers, and forget that one a minute. So this is what they come like. You've probably seen them all over the internet. It's just got 2 slots at like 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then you pull the lever, and then it's a bit hard when they're not connected to a seat, and then it swivels around. That lifts up 2 teeth, and as it goes around, it then drops into the slots. They do make Renault Trafic Vivaro specific swivels, but they were much dearer than these, so I thought I'd give these a go. Obviously the specific to the van ones should really bolt straight on. These ones don't. If you go that way, it doesn't really fit. But if you turn it that way, it does actually slot underneath. And I've got this one a bit closer at the moment. You just got to tap it over then.
Just tap it in. Just tap it in.
So then it goes underneath these sections. The base of that slides underneath. So this one, I don't know whether I'd be able to get it out if I wanted to now. It's I've hit it along with the mallet, and I've got it pretty centered now. I don't know whether I've got it centered front to back though, so I'll do a bit more tapping it with the mallet.
Give it a little tappy
To get it centered on all axes, and then work out where I can bolt it. So to bolt it in, you got two mounting points on each corner-ish, and they should, at least one of them anyway, on each corner, should line up with these plates that are by here and here. So it was about 5mm gap in between at the front and at the back between the swivel and the seat base, and then what I roughly worked it out as is the seat swivel is overhanging the base about 8mm on all sides. It's pretty good news at the moment. So out of the 8 holes on the swivels, we got 2 there that are over the top of the material on the seat base, and then on this side we got 1 that isn't, and that one isn't on there. So out of 8 holes, 6 of them are lining up with material on the seat bases, so that's pretty good. Now obviously I can only get to 3 at the moment, so now it's a case of turning it and doing the next ones that you can get to. Now I'll do the same again, pilot holes and then make them bigger. I've got both bases all drilled out now, so 6 holes on each, and what I've done so far is I'm using, it's just what leftover bolts I've got from other things. So I got these Allen key bolts, M8, and they are both 35mm long of thread. So I've put one in because what I found out is that when I'm drilling the holes, it started moving slightly, and it's a bit awkward to clamp it because of the steep sides and stuff. So what I've done is put one in and put a nut on the back, 13mm nut. So what I'm going to do now is spin the swivel around and just double check each hole is aligned with the holes on the swivel. and if they need correcting, then I'll do that before putting the bolts in. And they're all now fitted. They look almost as if they were meant to be there, like Renault or Vauxhall put them there. The part of the seat base which the swivels bolt onto, it doesn't exactly meet where the holes are for the swivels. So in some places I had to put spacers. I used a mixture of just putting another nut in place. Some I had some slightly thicker like cylinders, metal cylinders, and it was just a case of working out what was best to fit where. So I don't know whether you can see there, just behind the bolts, you can see I've used some spacers just to stop it deforming this piece of metal there. So there's the spacers there, and in some places we didn't need any. For example, it's hard with this top heavy, so we want to tip over. Where this part goes inwards, didn't need one by there, but missed it by there, so I did need one there. Went much easier than I thought. It was just a bit time consuming, that's all, because obviously you can't drill all the holes at the same time. You've got to drill what you can see, and then elongate them, and then move the swivel around so you can access the next ones, and so on. But just to show you, push that down, and then obviously it'd be much easier if they were bolted to something. So in order for these seat rails to bolt onto the swivels, they need to be completely flat. So obviously these are designed to fit in a Discovery, and these blocks that are on it, they're designed to locate, I think they're locating pins, and then a bolt goes through there, through the holes, to go into the Discovery floor pan. So we need to get rid of all 4 of these on each seat to make the rails completely flat. But obviously these ones are in the, well, the seat is at the furthest rear position at the moment, and this one is in the furthest forward. So what we have to do is get a 12-volt battery. I've disconnected all the wiring and I've labelled it all where it all goes. So there is quite a lot of motors on these seats, but the one we're looking at is the one that powers the seat rails, which is this one by here. So in order to get them to move so we can access the rivets, we need to disconnect the wiring out of it, and then just get a 12-volt battery and connect 2 wires up to the battery, and then put the 2 wires on the terminals of the motor, and then it should move. If it doesn't move, swap them around the other way, and then because it might be at this furthest position. Then once we've done that, we need to make some kind of brackets to bolt the seat to, and then bolt the brackets to the swivels. So I've drilled out these rear ones at the back of the seat, and you can see now that those aluminium blocks have now been removed. So now I'll show you how to move the rails back in the other direction to gain access to the rivets on the other side, and then we can drill them out as well. So we got our little 12-volt battery. It's just out of a golf trolley. Now, before we can start putting power to this motor here, because we've taken those blocks out of the end of the seat rails, they were also securing the it's like a rack and pinion system, so they were also securing the screw thread that turns turns around to move the rails. So if you just connect power to it now, they'll just turn and the rails won't move. So what I've done is just put a nut and bolt through the end of it, the same as what the rivet was doing, but obviously the blocks that are on the bottom of the rails are gone now. So yeah, just put an M6 nut and bolt through it. Doesn't even have to be tight, just to stop that screw at the end of it some spinning round, and then that will then be secured to the rail, so then when you put power to it, they both move together. So let's move the runners so we can gain access to the ones on the other side. You'll get to a point where it won't go no more, so just immediately stop so you don't damage the motors or anything. So like I said, there's just the nut and bolts that I put through the ends. Because this is what I'm talking about, is this thing here is connected, the end of this is connected to this rivet here. This is the one you need to drill out, which is then connected to these blocks as well. Put power to it. This bracket that's on the end of that threaded bar will then just spin round, so you need to put a nut and bolt back through there to connect it to the runners, just for while the seat is off a vehicle and it's on a bench or a trestle or whatever. Once it's mounted into the vehicle, you got your main mounting bolt through there, which will do the job anyway. Okay, that's off. So now you might just, there you go. So now all of those blocks are off. The underneath of the rails are now completely smooth, which is what we want. Now we need to start measuring in order to create some brackets. Just a little bit of information to note, which I've just found out. If you want to fit Discovery 5 seats into a Renault Trafic or Vivaro or Primastar, and you don't want to fit universal swivels, the runners off of these seats will line up perfectly with the edges of the standard seat bases. I've just discovered that. And you've got loads of holes that you can mount it to. Then you can just bolt them in, and then all you got to worry about is the electrics then. So just measured them, and the length of the rails on the actual seats is 47.5 centimeters, and what was it? The distance from the edge of the seat base, which the seat rails line up perfectly with, roughly to an acceptable mount past the furthest inmost mounting hole, worked out about 13 centimeters. So I knew I needed 4 sheets of 13 by 47.5 centimeters, and I measured the thickness on the runners, the steel, and they were 2 mil thick steel. So the guys and girls at D&S Signs in Kilfynydd, which is just up the road from me in South Wales, were nice enough to look through their scrap bin, and they were nice enough to cut to size for me as well. So I got 4 perfectly identical sheets of 2 mil steel in the size that I want. So now I just need to line them up with all the holes on the seats and the swivel bases, and then drill the holes. Just measured where the holes are on the runners, so I've marked it out there, one by there, that's at the back, and one at the front by there, and then hopefully I'll drill them out, and then I should be able to put that one over the top of the others individually, and use that one as a template to drill all the others without having to measure and mark them out with a pen. Just clamp it in place. So drill the plates for the mounting points that fix them to the swivel. The swivels have 4 mounting points that have threads in, but the other 4 are just holes. M10 they are, the ones with threads. So I've got them bolted on now via those ones with the threads. And I also drilled the holes to line up with the ones without threads. Ran into a slight problem then, is that how do you get the bolts into them and the nuts behind them, because obviously the swivels are now bolted to the seat bases and there's no way of getting through. You would have to then get the swivels off of the seat bases to then put bolts through these. So I found a little trick, a little way around that. What I did before I bolted these on is turn the swivel to an area which was just dead flat, and I've drilled a hole through it. I marked it out from the top and then drilled a little pilot hole and then made it bigger from below. I'm probably going to run an M8 bolt through them just to make life easier, otherwise the hole's going to have to be massive. And then all you have to do is turn the swivel around for all 4 bolt holes and line it up with this access hole underneath. You can see it there, and it's in an area that is totally unused. So it's not compromising any strength or getting in the way of anything at all. I've had the seat on there as well, and the holes that I've drilled for the seat runners to mount onto line up. What I'm going to do is drill an extra one on each corner, because if you remember, the Renault Trafic standard seats had 2 bolts on each end of the runners. The Land Rover seats only have 1. But then they did have a locator pin, which is pretty hefty, on those aluminium blocks that we cut off. So I'd rather have 2 bolts on there, especially if they're M8 as well. So I'm going to drill it. I've marked them out, so I'm going to drill them next. And then what I'll do is take these back off the plates, and I'll do what I did before and line them up with the other ones I've done and drill all the holes together.
A few moments later.
So we got all them holes drilled now, and I've done a few other things too. So they're drilled, all the extra ones for the actual seats, and the holes drilled to mount them onto the swivels. And what I've also done is, now I don't know whether it's going to work or not, but what I've done is chiseled a bit out of a block of wood, like a channel, and I've put this over the top of it. I've marked out where I want to do it, and then I've hit it then with a hammer and bolster to create grooves into it where I think there's going to be flex, and that is hopefully going to put some strength into the otherwise flimsy steel plate. Now they're 2mm thick plates, so it's not that flimsy, but once you got the weight of the seat on it plus the weight of the person, then yeah, it's flimsy then. So hopefully that's going to add some strength into it. We're just going to get the seats in there, and then it's a case of testing it out and see what works and what doesn't work. So if you've got a better idea of mounting it, obviously that's kind of the layout of the bolt holes and stuff that you need, but if you think of something better than that, then do what works for you. Pop it in the comments even, so that I can see it and maybe utilize it on this one. If I find out that it's not quite strong enough, I can maybe put a brace from there to there, and same on the back, and even maybe some like L channel bolted into the same holes as the seat, and have it coming off the side there and running down there, so then that will stiffen up the end of it. All these are not tightened up at the moment, they're just flimsy, so I've got as much adjustment as possible for when the seat goes on. To my knowledge, no one has put Land Rover Discovery seats in a Renault Trafic before. I couldn't find any because I was looking for advice. So hopefully this is the first one, and yeah, if you're thinking of putting these seats in your van, then hopefully it helps you in some way. So we've got them all bolted up, just slack at the moment. I haven't put the extra set of bolts in, I've just put the one in just see if it works, because I've drilled that hole underneath as I said before. I'm going to probably get the seats on first before I put them in as well, because then once the seats are on I can tighten them up fully, I can tighten the seats up fully, and then I can just put them in and tighten them up straight away. One last thing that I've done is rounded off all the corners with the belt sander, because obviously you don't want to spin it round and then these points digging in your shins or something. So next step is to lift the seats onto the seat bases there. We'll have to take out the 10 mils that I put in before. Lift them onto the thing and get 2 nuts and bolts in first. I'll power the seat up to move it back, get some bolts in the front as well, and then we'll look about jiggling it about to line all the holes up and stuff. One thing to point out, before you go lifting the seat on as well, make sure you have the handle for the swivel facing the back of the seat, because if you have it at the front it will foul on where the motor is for the rails. When the seat goes back and forth, it will hit that and they won't like it. So we got them on there. Easy enough to get the seats placed on the base, but trying to get the bolts through the runners into the custom plates, bit of a faff. The only reason is because Land Rover, the pinion thing, like I said before, is detached from the actual runners. So when you, right at the start, when we drilled off those aluminium blocks on the bottom, that detached the pinion thing from the runners. So if you've put power to the seats, and like I've covered before, those end plates from the pinion isn't bolted down, they'll just spin around and alter within the rail, within the runner, without the runner moving. So then the holes on those end plates of the pinion won't line up with the runner. So what you've got to do, the front just spins on its own, it's not actually fixed. You've got to turn the rear one, the end plate of the rear pinion part. I think I'm calling it the right part here. It is the pinion, isn't it? Or is it the rack? I don't know. You know what I mean. You got to turn it by hand until they line up with the OEM holes on it. So I hope I've explained that right. And that's basically the only thing that was time consuming. Now that that's done, all that's left is to get them in. But there's one little thing we got to do first. I put the carpet back in, or the rubber mat, or whatever you want to call it. gave it a clean as well, and I gave the metal underneath it a clean. It's originally set up to have a bench seat. You got the hole there, and then the mounts are there and there. Well, obviously to fit a single seat, we got to drill some holes in the mat, and underneath, whether you can see there is the hole that Renault and Vauxhall are kind enough to put in there. It's basically they put it there for ease of putting a driver's seat in left-hand drive vehicles. So we just got to gain access to them by drilling the holes through the mat. So I'll probably use a hole saw for that, and then we can get them in. Obviously you got to put these spacers in so that the seats sit above the mat, because the mat is could do with a wet wipe down, but it's clean enough now, and we got the side steps installed as well. So all that's left to do is get the seats in. Get in there. Right. Just need to slot it over that one that's sticking up. When putting them in, especially if you're doing it on your own like me, just be careful you don't damage the wiring that is attached to the van for the seatbelt. So don't go sliding the seat in and you're about to rip the end of the plug off. They are in, and damn, they look good. Now, I did manage to get them in on my own, but I'm an idiot. I always do things on my own, and then I end up breaking stuff or hurting myself. So, word of advice, the seats aren't too heavy, but the bases with the swivels on are quite heavy. So when you add them all up together, the whole unit does become a bit of a weight. So it's a bit awkward to get it in.
That's what she said.
So yeah, if you've got a helping hand, use it. And yeah, two people, much easier to lift them in. And then obviously all you got to do is do up 3 of them, one on each corner, and then you got the one that's poking up that you got to tighten up before you put the seat in, and it's on the opposite corner to that one, because obviously you've got 2 drivers' seat bases, so it won't be by there, it'll be by there, exactly the same as that one. Now just to clarify, I'm going to do this in 2 parts, so this video is already long enough without me starting the electrics. So electrics and getting them all working and set up, that will be part 2, along with installing the seatbelt things, because bloody seagulls do my head in. I haven't tried the Renault Trafic seatbelts in them, but these have got wires on the end, so I'd rather just use the Renault Trafic seatbelt receivers, because then they can plug into the original wiring that's underneath the seat, so you probably won't get a light on the dash then. So Next video I'll take them off as well and put the Renault Trafic ones on. Leaving this cover off at the moment because there's stuff in the back there that I want to power up, hopefully. So I've just cable tied all the wiring out of the way on both of them. There's only one last thing to do, and that's to try them out. I know the possibility of them not being in the place that I want them is apparent, because I haven't got power to them yet, but we gotta give it a go, haven't we? So I've changed out my dirty clothes and put some clean work clothes on. Actually, that's pretty spot on. Oh, the backrest is a bit too high up. Oh, they're comfy, they are. Not sure if those plates I've done are quite strong enough, so we'll have a look at that in the future. It's rocking a little bit. Obviously, if you're not fitting swivels, like I said before, these seats will fit straight to the bases. Let's try the passenger one out. This is going to be uncomfy as hell because the back is all the way forward, but there we are. Yeah, that's not comfy. Now, I've just noticed, I just had a quick look underneath, and it's not actually my custom plates that are flexing, it's the swivel. So, I've never actually sat in swivel seats before. So, let me know in the comments, if you've got swivel bases, do they rock around a little bit? Let me know. Because if that's the case, then I don't have to do anything to my adapters. One last thing, let's test the swivels. So obviously, I don't know which way to swivel them actually, they might not work because I don't have power to the seats yet, because sometimes you have to move the seat forward and stuff to be able to swivel them. Yeah, they won't go that way. Just go that way. I go sideways. Yeah, boy! Look at that! And you got your armrest there as well. Land Rover Discovery 5 HSE. Again, if you're a Discovery owner, let me know what the HSE stands for. Seats fitted into a Renault Trafic and Vivaro and Primastar. Pretty straightforward, I think. Probably won't be saying that in the part 2 when it comes to the wiring, but I have had a guy come in and to just look over it. He's an electrician, and he seems to think he can get it running. I'm not going to attempt it. I'll blow them up or blow motors or catch fire to things and stuff. Stay tuned for part 2 though, because they're not finished yet. We gotta get them all running and put all the covers back on and stuff. That might not be for a little while yet, so just keep your eyes peeled. But yeah, if this helps you out, then happy days, that's awesome. If you want to say thank you for that, links in the description to buy me a coffee. If you've got any questions at all on the seats or the installation or whatever, pop them in the comments and I'll answer them at the end of the next video. There's only one last thing to say. Click on the subscribe button if you haven't already, because if you haven't, what the hell is wrong with you? It helps the channel out, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cue the B-roll.